Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Charles Coachman, and this is Bay Area Let's Talk. Bay Area Let's Talk. We are covering our local news. We are going to be interviewing local businesses and local people throughout the Bay Area and in California, and possibly some out-of-state businesses, but we are concentrating on the Bay Area. The Bay Area, and we want to make sure that we are doing that. Again, I am Charles Coachman. You can reach me by phone or text 408-439-0766, or you can email us at bayarealetstalk@gmail.com. bayarealetstalk@gmail.com. Let's see, I want to do something real quick, and it's something I do for the shows that I host, and that is give birthday shout outs to three of my friends. Dana Adams, who I have known since we were kids in junior high. Dana has turned out to be just a wonderful lady and is, I should say was married to a friend of mine, Gary Adams, and Gary unfortunately passed away a few years back, and Dana has just been carrying on. So Dana, I wish you all the best on this day. All the best for you. Let's see, Sandy Hurst Kinder. Now, I've known Sandy even a little bit longer. Sandy I've known since we were in elementary school, and we also met at Park Junior High, where I met Dana at. Or we went to school at Park Junior High, I should say. Didn't go to high school with Sandy, but did run into Sandy again as we were getting a little bit older and we were living in Boulder Creek, California. And Sandy ended up marrying a friend of mine, Mark Kinder. So Sandy Hurst Kinder, happy birthday to you. I should mention that Sandy and Mark unfortunately lost their home along with many other people up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, but they are real troopers, and they have purchased a smaller home and are now beginning the process of rebuilding their home. And you could not ask for a nicer couple of people, and people that love the Boulder Creek area. And then the last is Brian Babcock. Brian and I have known each other a little over 10 years. And Brian was a realtor here in San Jose, but he has moved down to Texas. Where he is selling, I believe it's medical insurance, but he is an insurance salesman down there. So Brian, happy birthday to you, and happy birthday to all three of you. And if it's your birthday out there and we didn't catch it, happy birthday to you too. All three of you, enjoy your days. I hope you're just having fabulous days. Happy birthday. Okay, let's take a quick look. Good afternoon, Scott. Hey, we are doing good. Just taking a rest, and then now trying to get this coming along. And the back is getting much better. By the time noontime hit yesterday here, I just had to go to bed. It was probably 11 o'clock, and I just had to give it up. So I went and rested for a little bit today, and I had a couple of classes that I needed to take. So I took those and said, you know what, I know I can do a half hour, so let's get this done, and hopefully we can put those, the honey-do list aside for another day. But we will see. Scott, I'm so glad that you are here. So glad to see you, man. And let's take a quick look down here. So I like to let everybody know the systems that we are using. We are part of the Grow Live Academy. That is a Ken Walls company. Ken Walls has set up a system to teach folks how to do live streams. And there is no one better to do it. And Ken Walls is known as the live stream king. So Ken Walls, thank you for the Grow Live Academy. StreamYard.com is the platform that we are broadcasting off of. StreamYard.com. StreamYard.com. And then we are using Hippo Video to stay in touch with our clients. stay in touch with our clients each and every day. And it is a terrific system. Again, this is called Bay Area Let's Talk. Bay Area Let's Talk. And I am Charles Coachman. You can reach us by using either Facebook. We have a Bay Area Let's Talk page on Facebook. We have Charles Coachman Facebook page. And then we are also on YouTube, where you can find us there. And then again, I just want to mention StreamYard. If you want to make a comment, please go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and allow them to use your likeness, your picture, and your name, so we can get it out there. So today we have a lot of news going on locally, but we also have some news going on nationally, and that would be the moving forward of the second impeachment, whether there will actually be a conviction of former President Trump for the January 6th events that took place at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. A horrible scene out there, and it is going to be up to the senators to decide what they're going to do about what has happened with President Trump, and will they convict him? Will they convict him? I understand the vote to proceed was a 51-49 vote. No, I'm sorry, a 56-44 vote to go ahead and move ahead with the trial. Let's get that trial done. Let's get the stuff out there. But if we're going to convict, then we better have more than what we had with the Congress. So get it on, ladies and gentlemen. Do your jobs. Do what is right. Do what's best for our country. Do what is best for our country. And that's all I would ask. That's all I would say. Well, today there's an awful lot of talk about COVID and what's happening. Today in the Bay Area, there was a big speech by Gavin Newsom speaking at Levi Stadium, the home stadium of the San Francisco 49ers. And they are kicking this off today. They're going to do 5,000 vaccinations a day at Levi Stadium, and they're hoping to proceed up to 15,000 in the weeks to come. Now, this is the third or fourth site that's being opened in the Bay Area. Large sites. So we are hoping that we are going to be able to get all the people vaccinated that want to be vaccinated. We want to make sure that all of the people that take care of us, whether it's the first responders, whether it's our nurses and doctors, and our elderly. We know that this virus affects our elderly the most. And we've got to take care of them. I don't care what else you do. Take care of the elderly. These people that have lived for 75, 80, 90, 100 years, make sure that they're taken care of. Those are the people that brought us into this world. Those are the people that need to be taken care of. We have had a horrible rollout to this. So let's just hope that we can stay on pace now and get caught up and get this moving and make sure that this system works correctly. One of the stories that came out today was that Facebook is launching a worldwide campaign to comb out misinformation about the vaccines. Now, I don't know how much misinformation is going out about the vaccines. Some people don't want to take it. Some people do. If you don't want to take the vaccines, don't take them. If there's information that we should be made aware of, we should be made aware of. There was a big case where there was just a reporting of a younger gentleman, and it may have been a doctor, that got his second shot and died shortly thereafter. So they haven't announced if it was from the vaccine or if it was from something else. We're waiting for that to be determined. So we need to know, that needs to be understood. If the vaccines are safe, which they have been said that they are, then we got to make sure that we are taking care of our people. Let's do that. Let's make sure that they're safe. Let's make sure that we are taking care of the right people. Today it was announced that the downing of the helicopter which Kobe Bryant was on was due to poor visibility and pilot error. And that caused Kobe, his daughter, and 7 others to perish, including the pilot. So we know that so many times when the weather is bad, and there it was, the weather was bad, the fog was heavy, that sometimes we just have misjudgment. They shouldn't have taken off, number one, but they did, and they perished because of it. So we don't know what the conversation was between Kobe and his pilot, but you know, if it was completely pilot error, then it's a terrible loss. It's an absolutely terrible loss, and a sad loss at that. A very, very sad loss. One of the things that we are seeing in the Bay Area, and it's terrible. We have been seeing it in Oakland. We've been seeing it in San Francisco and other cities throughout the Bay Area, that elderly people are being attacked on the streets. Whether it's going into shops and stealing their wallets, grabbing their purses and running away from them. It's become an epidemic. It's not just a case of it happening every now and then. It's happening every single day. San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose. There are people being attacked in our big cities and in our little cities. Well, today they announced that some people in Oakland are taking to the streets and walking those streets. Here we are going through an epidemic of vandalism and elderly people being attacked, being assaulted on the street. We've had several people die because of these attacks. We've had people that are hit like a football player blocking someone to the ground. Some for no reason, just running up and knocking them to the ground and then walking away. They had one last week where they had a elderly guy where he was out with his camera, and these 2 guys decided to take his camera, and they pulled him down. He hit his head and passed away a day later. This is just something terrible that we got to avoid. So now people are taking to the streets. We've seen this happen in the past. We don't want it to happen anymore. And a lot of the attacks have been on Asian people. Is there something with Asian people that they're needing to be attacked? Is there something going on racially where there's some type of divide where they need to be attacked? Elderly people. One person that got attacked had just flown here to help take care of his children or his grandchildren, and then was attacked in front of his daughter's home. This is sad, but now we're going to have people walk in the streets where the police aren't, especially in Oakland, where a lot of these attacks have happened. They voted to defund the police. They had just voted on it last week. We want to change the police department. We want to defund them. Even Mayor Libby Schaaf said, we don't want to defund our police. That's not what we want to do. But the city council went ahead and did it anyway. So let's see what's going to happen there. But Oakland, you are going to now have people, citizens walking up and down your streets, taking care of the elderly, making sure they're not being attacked. And if you are going to go out and attack somebody, you better expect a gang of people to come after you, because people are now aware of this. And we do not need it. It is unbelievable, Scott. And that's all I can ask. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? And we need to turn away from it. We need to understand that this is not acceptable in our society for anyone to be attacked, but especially our elderly, who are for the most part not hopeless, but helpless. And I was going back with a friend of mine, and he said somebody saw me with the cane and these punks tried to come after me, so I was able to beat them off. They aren't going to take care of me like that. Well, some of these folks that have been attacked are in their 80s, 90s, and if I'm not mistaken, I've read the reports of someone being over 100 years old, being knocked to the ground. What is this all about? What are we coming to? What is this world coming to? Well, hey, over the weekend we had our big, I guess, our game of the year, our biggest game of the year. About 25,000 people were able to witness the Tampa Bay Buccaneers basically dismantling the Kansas City Chiefs, who were favored by 3.5, but certainly expected to win this game. But old man Tom Brady, old man, 43 years old, but in professional football years, he might as well have been 100, because 43 years old is ancient, especially for a quarterback. Although these days we know that if you hit the quarterback, and maybe if you even breathe hard on the quarterback, it's going to be a penalty, especially if you have bad breath. That'll be a 15-yarder. But Tom Brady went out and had a great day. He won his 7th Super Bowl title. He was participating in his 10th Super Bowl, has won 7 of them. His 3 losses were to New York Giants twice and to the Philadelphia Eagles. I hear that on a daily basis, almost. Or I have a couple of guys that mention the score to Philadelphia beating New England on a daily basis. But this guy, who grew up in the Bay Area, he went to Sarah High, where Sarah High has put out some fantastic athletes. Tom Brady, a guy that came out, and he wasn't even a starter in college until his senior year. When he got to college, he was 7th on the depth chart, and he finally worked his way in. When he went to his tryouts for the NFL, nobody really wanted him. He was overlooked by a lot of teams, but the Patriots picked him up and figured he would make a good backup quarterback. And sure enough, soon enough, even in, I believe it was his first season, no, maybe his second season, he ended up taking that team to the Super Bowl. Just an amazing story. Here it is about 20 years later. 20 years later, and Tom Brady is still playing and still winning Super Bowls. And he had a great game. He had a very good game and a great season, one of his best in the last decade. So I'm still amazed at Tom. We have Sharks hockey coming up. We have Warriors basketball coming up. Both teams are having fair seasons. The Sharks are a little bit, I believe they are in the 7th or 8th spot in their division. I think the same can be said for the Warriors. They may be at the 8th spot in their division. So if they were to keep this up, they would make the playoffs, both teams. But there really is little hope of that. But let's see. Miracles happen. And the Golden State Warriors, who are now playing again in San Francisco, hey, they've won 3 championships out of the last 8 years. So there's still a good portion of that team there, and they're still waiting for the return of one of their best players. And we're going to see with all the new players that have come in what's going to happen with that. Well, it is time to get on to rock and roll this day in rock and maybe a little country, because we're starting out with Ernest Tubb. He is called the first great honky-tonk singers, or one of them. Born in 1914, his big songs were Walking the Floor Over You, and he made the original recording of Blue Christmas. Most people think of Elvis when they think of Blue Christmas, but it was Ernest Tubb. Born on this date in 1939, songwriter Barry Mann, who wrote with his wife Cynthia Weil. They wrote the songs You've Lost That Loving Feeling, You've Lost That Loving Feeling, and On Broadway from the 1960s. Everybody, if you're my age, probably remembers those songs. Born on this date in 1942. 42 was Carole King. Carole King was married to Jerry Goffin, and they were a writing team. They divorced. Carole King went on to record one of the greatest albums of all time, and had the single It's Too Late, which was #1 for 7 months. She won all sorts of Grammy Awards for that album and was cited as the best female songwriter for the second half of the 20th century. So, Carole King, happy birthday to you. Barry Mann, happy birthday to you. And Ernest Tubb, rest in peace. 1947, on this date, soul singer Major Harris was born. He had a #5 hit in 1975 called Love Won't Let Me Wait. Love Won't Let Me Wait. I remember that song. But the biggest thing that happened on this date in 1964, Ed Sullivan. The Beatles, on this date in 1964, played All My Loving, Till There Was You, and She Loves You. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is hard to believe. 57 years ago, I think that's right, 57 years ago, the Beatles make their American debut. That's just unreal. And I can remember that. I don't remember the show. What I do remember is our principal at school getting on the megaphone or the speaker system and talking about, during his morning announcements, talking about the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. This date in 1970, Led Zeppelin released Led Zeppelin 2. Led Zeppelin 2, which was an incredible album. Incredible. This album included Whole Lotta Love, The Lemon Song, Heartbreaker, Ramblin' On. All just awesome, awesome songs. They were incredible. Incredible. And that album is still today just one of the best albums ever. 1972 on this date, one of the Beatles, former Beatles, Paul McCartney, and his group, The Wings, or his group Wings, went on a bus tour throughout Great Britain. And they would visit schools. They would visit colleges throughout Great Britain. Paul would just call the school and say, hey, can we stop by and play tonight? Can we just stop by, say hi, and play tonight? And they hit, I think they said they hit like 40 schools. How amazing would that be? How amazing. In 1972, you're going to college here. It's a Tuesday night. Hey, you know Paul McCartney's coming to the school? Let's skip homework. We're heading out. This date in 1976. 1976, chart toppers. Paul Simon, who had recently ended his 13-year partnership with Art Garfunkel, had a #1 hit with 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. I don't think that was I don't believe that had anything to do with Art. I believe it was, he may have been breaking up with his wife at the time, which was Princess Leila, if I'm not mistaken. 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Hop on the bus, Gus. This date in 1981, and we just mentioned Bill Haley last week or the week before, saying that he had hit England. On this date in 1981, Bill Haley of the Comets dies of a heart attack in his town in Harlingen, Texas. Harlingen, Texas. His big hit was Rock Around the Clock. Everybody remembered it. Everybody loved it. This date in 1990, Nirvana sets out on a short West Coast tour. I think they were going to hit 12 theaters, but they hit Pine Street Theater in Portland, Oregon on this day. On this date in 2004, I would almost call this the day the music died. The retail chain Tower Records files for Chapter 11. Filed for Chapter 11. I can remember going into Tower Records in the mid-'80s. I wanted to look at some albums, and they had a very tiny section of albums, and everything was CDs. My mind was absolutely blown. Here's a guy that had been collecting albums for years and years. I knew CDs were coming. I knew they were going to be the rage. But when I walked into Tower Records, where I had been going since the mid-'70s, all of a sudden, everything, all my beloved albums were gone. They were gone. And soon Tower Records was to follow. In 2005, on this date, The Who's Roger Daltrey is made a Commander of the Order. Commander of the Order of the British Empire at Buckingham Palace. He said if Queen Elizabeth heard the Who's songs, she would fall off her podium. So they made him a Commander of the Order of the British Empire at the Buckingham Palace. And they knew that she had probably never listened to the Who. On this date in 2009, we're heading right back to Led Zeppelin, but just the lead singer. Lead singer Robert Plant and singer Alison Krauss, bluegrass singer. She is just, she is amazing. She has one of the best voices ever. They did an album together. And I just listened to some of the music the other day, and I'm just saying, you know what? Their voices mix rather well. But I didn't know this. In 2009, they did an album together, and they took home 5 awards. 5 awards. That's amazing. On this day in rock, 50 years after the Beatles honed their skills, created Beatlemania, and changed the world, the Cavern Club was revived on this day for a tribute. The Cavern Club is still open today. It had been closed down because they were in the hole and couldn't pay their bills. But now it is a club where a lot of some old 60s bands will play, but it's mostly cover bands coming in to play the old 60s music. But it's still there, and I went to their website, and they have some cool stuff, so I didn't mind it at all. Hitting the Beatles one last time, and Paul McCartney on 2012, bringing himself into the new age, debuts his new songs live on iTunes. This day in rock. McCartney debuts his new songs on iTunes, and the song, he did an album that I believe it was called, I think this is right, Kisses on the Bottom. Diana Krall, Eric Clapton, and Stevie Wonder played with them, but this album consisted of songs that were basically written by other people, and he did a couple of his own songs. And here he is stretched from the 50s into the 2000s and into the second decade of the 2000s, and he's still going. Anytime I get a chance to listen to Paul McCartney, I love it. Hey, he is older, but you know what? He gave us some of the best tunes ever. My wife and I went to see him at the San Jose Arena a few years back. I had just had surgery on my knee, but I said, you know what? I will get on my crutches and we're going down there. And we had a blast. We enjoyed it. I couldn't stand up and shout and stuff like I normally would, but one of the best shows. And we were so thrilled to see Paul McCartney. My wife had loved him as a little girl, and I loved his music. So one of those great things. So that is This Day in Rock. This is Bay Area Let's Talk, and that is it for today. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to share this out, we would certainly love that. We are going to do everything that we can to be here tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Have a great evening. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. God bless. Bay Area Let's Talk. Charles Coachman. Bye.